in today's episode, I should say, we're going to take a look at, this is the fifth episode in our 5-part series on the weapons of World War II used by the Allies. This is the Mosin-Nagant, okay? At least that's what we call it here in the West. Now, its proper name, okay? You're gonna love this one. This is the Russian 3-line rifle of M-1891. Pardon me. So, 3-line. What in the world is 3-line? Okay, what am I talking about? All right, well, that's kind of an interesting one, okay? 3-line. This is how this works, okay? 3-line rifle. Okay, as I was saying, one line is about 1/10 of an inch, or 10 caliber, or about 2.54 millimeters. All right, so that seems kind of strange, but that's how they were talking about it back in 1891. Okay, what that translates down to is 3 lines of 2.54 millimeters comes out to 7.62 millimeters, and that is the caliber of this 30 caliber Mosin-Nagant rifle. Now, so there were 2 guys. One of them was named Mosin, and the other one was named Nagant. Okay, Nagant was Belgian, okay, and Mosin was a Russian military officer. Well, Mr. Mosin won the trial bid on producing the rifle, okay? The problem came in where Mr. Nagant felt that he had to file a lawsuit because he had actually taken out the patent. Since Mr. Mosin was a Russian military officer, it was unlawful for him to take out a patent. So Nagant had the patent, and he felt that since the rifle was in his name, the patent, that he should get the money for having the rifle. So, well, this ended up in a big scandal and a big lawsuit, and Alexander, Tsar of Russia at the time, came along and said, nope, we're going to call it the 3-line rifle of M-1891. So that's how this thing got that proper name that's so strange. And again, it's strange to us now, but back then it made perfect sense. All right, so now this gun, as you can see, has got a really nice finish on the stock. I don't know who did it. I did not. I bought it this way. It's a pretty thing, and it works well. I've shot it. It shoots very well. This is the type of rifle that Vasily Zaytsev used during the Battle of Stalingrad in his famous duel against Major Erwin Koenig of the German Wehrmacht during World War II. So this gun was used in World War II. It is a weapon of World War II. However, it is also a weapon of World War I. It was used in World War I. It was used in the Philippines. It was used all over the world. This rifle is actually one of the most produced rifles in the world. A lot of different people used this gun. So it's a neat piece. So we're going to get to this. There's not a whole lot more for me to talk about. Well, actually, there is one other thing. So this goes back to 1877, 1878, okay? The Turks and the Russians decided they were going to have a war, okay? And it was called the Russo-Ottoman War, and it was fairly short, okay? Well, back in the day, the Russians did not have this rifle. What they had was a single-shot Berdan rifle. In other words, you had to open the gun up, okay? Put a round in it. Pick it up, shoot it. Take the old cartridge out, put a new cartridge in, close the gun back up, shoot it again. So in other words, most of the time you were reloading and not much time shooting. Well, the Turks, they were using the Winchester repeating rifle, which meant it shot fast at a much higher rate of fire. So as far as casualties are concerned, the Russians got their butts handed to them on that war. They really got clobbered. And that prompted the Russian command, the Russian high command, to say, you know what? We need to modernize our army. And so that's when they put out the bid for a new rifle. And this was the answer to that rifle. This is that rifle, the Mosin-Nagant. One other thing about this gun, it has an exceptionally long barrel on it. This barrel is 28.5 inches long. To put that into perspective, my little M4 carbine has a 16-inch barrel on it. My Remington 700 that I shoot .308 in, that I shot as a sniper, same type of gun, has a 22.5-inch barrel on it. So this thing at 38.5 inches is a tremendously long barrel on this gun. All right, so we're going to get started, and I think most of our work is probably going to be done over here on the close-up camera. So, because I really can't tell what I'm filming on the GoPro. So we'll go from there. Hey everybody, Bill 1911 here. Hey listen, if you're watching this video, if you're enjoying it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, okay? That's really important to us. And make sure you like us, and by all means, come to visit us at askbill1911.com. Okay, job one on this, we're going to concentrate on taking the upper hand guard off the rifle, okay? Now, these rings, they slide off the end, but this metal piece here, okay, you can see this is kind of a spring. Well, the problem is my thumbnails just don't hold up well to this kind of pressure. So this was actually designed so you didn't have to use a lot of tools to take it apart. But I'm going to have to use some things to get this thing started, because I'm just not having a lot of luck with my fingernails and all that, getting this moving. It's really, really sticking on me. So, all right. Now, once that comes off over that spring, it'll slide right off the end of the stock, okay? So, we're also going to do the same thing with the one that's in the back. And it is a beast. These springs are very stiff, but we'll get it. It just takes a little bit of effort, a little bit of perseverance. All right, so now I'm trying to make sure that I don't scratch my stock, because this finish on this gun is very pretty, very shiny and all that. Now, shiny finish, let's talk about that for a second. If you're on the battlefield, okay, you don't really want a gun that has a shiny finish. Now think about it. If you're on the battlefield, you don't want to be the guy that the enemy goes, "There he is!" because you're the guy they're going to be shooting at. So something shiny like this that reflects a lot of light is not necessarily a good thing on the battlefield. But boy, it sure does look pretty on this gun, doesn't it? Alright, so we're going to set our front hand guard aside, okay? And this isn't going to come off of here easily. It doesn't want to fit over that front sight. So I'm just going to kind of leave them here. I don't think there's going to be a big problem with it. Now there is one thing I wanted to show you on this stock, and it's kind of important. This stock is extremely slender through here. It's very slender. So that means that you can probably break it pretty easily. So we're going to kind of try and be careful with this. From here, the next thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to take some screws out of the receiver, which I'm going to try and put this over here and show you. All right, one of them is right here, okay, and the other one is in the back underneath the bolt right here. So the first thing we're going to have to do is pull the bolt out of the gun. Now with this gun, when you want to take the bolt out of the gun, what you have to do is just pull the bolt back, okay, pull the trigger all the way back and keep pulling the bolt back, and it comes right out of the gun. Now I'm going to show you that again, because when I'm doing that, it's hard to keep it in frame on the camera. Okay, so we're going to pull the bolt back, we're going to squeeze the trigger, and then we're going to just slide the bolt right out of the gun. Comes out that easy. No big muss, no big fuss. Okay, so from there, we're going to move tools out of the way. Okay, and we're going to get to these screws that need to become loose. Okay, so like I said, this first one in the front of the trigger guard is the first one. Okay, and we simply crank him out. Now these screws, I like these screws a lot because, I don't know if you can see this, but this has a nice deep slot in it. Okay, now that deep slot is really nice because it doesn't want to have the screwdriver slip out of it very easily. So you get really good purchase with your screwdriver. Sometimes in Russian guns, you'll find that they do a lot of things that have to do more with function than appearance. Consequently, if you'll look where this is machined right here, it's not really all that smooth. It's kind of rough, okay? Back in here, you can see a lot of these machining marks where they scythed off the metal in here. They were being fast. They weren't being careful. So we're going to take these screws out. Okay, and then we should be able to lift the action right out of the stock. Okay, if all goes well, it's going to come right out. Okay, now hopefully you're going to see this on the GoPro camera. I can't tell because the monitor is shutting down on it, but it scissors right out of the stock. Okay, and comes out. So as I told you, this thing has got a tremendously long barrel on it. Now on the trigger guard, okay, we'll get that over here. This just simply slides right out of the stock. Okay, just easy as that. So I'm going to set the stock aside now, and that's all there is to taking this gun apart. This gun is very, very simple to get apart. This box magazine, okay, this thing has a release on the floor plate here that you can open it up and empty the rounds out through the bottom of the case if you want to unload the gun. Okay, you don't have to cycle bolt 5 times to get the darn shells out of it. You can drop the floor plate open like that. It's a very nice design. So, and this is a solid magazine. This thing is, it's solid. It's a good magazine. The only thing that is about this that's a little different is that it's a single stack magazine, only single width. Okay. The Mauser used a double stack magazine where they stacked on top of each other, kind of like that. Okay. The 03 Springfield also did that. This one did not. There's another rifle called a Carcano. It used the same system as this one. So what you end up with is this trigger guard that sticks down below the body of the stock. As you can see, this sticks down through here. But it's very, very serviceable. This is actually probably a more superior design for this type of round. This gun used a round called the 7.62 by 54R. Now R, contrary to some popular belief, does not stand for Russian. It stands for rimmed, okay? Hey everybody, Bill 1911 here. Hey listen, if you're watching this video, if you're enjoying it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, okay? That's really important to us. And make sure you like us, and by all means, come to visit us at AskBill1911.com. Okay? Now, you remember the other day I showed you on the 03A, or not the 03A3, the Lee Enfield rifle. This part of the case, okay, has an enlarged diameter rim to it, okay? The 7.62 by 54R is the same thing. It has that rim on it. So the R stands for rimmed case. It does not stand for Russian. But When these go into the magazine, and again, I don't have any 7.62 by 54 brass, so I'm stuck demonstrating this with 3030 brass. Now, again, this is empty brass. There's no primers in it, no nothing. All right, so when these go into the magazine, okay, as you push them down in, all right, each round needs to set in front of the rim of the previous round, okay? And this magazine lends itself to that very, very well, to keep them stacked in so that they don't hang up on each other, okay? If it goes the other way around, what happens if you end up with the top round behind the bottom round, when you try to push the bolt forward, it pushes both cartridges forward at the same time and locks it up. Okay, so you got to make sure that when you stack these in there, the rim of the top case is in front of the rim of the second case. And every time it has to be in front. Okay, and that's going to allow the bolt to pick up that first case and slide it right out. Okay, pick up the second case and slide it out. Third case, slide it out. Fourth case, slide it out. So as long as you keep that in mind, you don't have any trouble loading these things. So let's get started putting her back together. You don't get a lot more simple and straightforward than this Mosin-Nagant. You don't need a lot of tools with it. You don't have a lot of problems with it. It has a cleaning rod that is built into the gun. I mean, it's in the stock, so you've always got your cleaning rod with you. It's a really fine gun. So we're going to get our stock, and we're going to start slipping our gun back together. Now we're going to make sure those two bands go all the way forward on the barrel, and we're going to set that thing back into the stock. All right. From there, we're going to kind of hold it in our hand like that, roll it over, slip our trigger guard back into place. Okay, it'll slide right in nice and easy. And we're going to put the screws back in where they belong. Okay, sorry, put the wrong one in the right hole. All right, and we're going to just get it started. Don't tighten it up hard yet. Just get it started. Okay. Now, oh, you know what? There was something I wanted to show you on this stock, and I didn't. And so I'm going to take it back apart just for a second and show this to you. This stock has a metal piece inside of it. Okay. It's kind of a bolt. Oh, darn. That goes through the stock. It's hard to see. You can see the bolt from the outside, okay? But what it does is it gives this a solid place for this receiver to bolt onto, okay? And you can see the metal back in here, all right? But it makes it very solid. So when this thing bolts down, there's no movement. The receiver is really stabilized in the stock. It doesn't wiggle around in the stock. So some of these older rifles, they went through the trouble of doing that. Some of them they didn't. The ones they didn't were just not as stable as this thing is. So another thing about this gun is it has a 4-groove barrel in it. Okay, now the Springfield 03A3, they had two groove barrels and 3-groove barrels. But a lot of them only had the 2-groove, okay? So it wasn't as accurate as it could be with a better quality barrel. This thing, these were pretty good barrels. They shot very, very well. So we're going to snug this up. Again, remember, don't crush the thing, okay? Tighten it up so it's solid. But don't keep cranking until you hear the wood crack. I talk about that all the time on these stocks, not to do that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the top handguard on, which is very, very simple. Okay, we slide it back into place. You can't really go wrong with this. You can see there's a ledge right here in the top of the handguard for that back strap, and it just goes back up against the front sight. That's simple as that. Then your band is going to slide over your front spring. Okay, come all the way back. Okay, and then it's going to slide over your back spring. In the back, oh, I got it on upside down. How about that? All right, let me explain what I mean by upside down. On these bands, you will notice that on the bottom of them, there is a split, okay? A little bit of relief here, so it has a little bit of springiness to it. That needs to be on the bottom side of the stock, all right? So I messed up, my fault. Okay, so we're going to slide it all the way back to the back, and if you notice, that just slid back a lot easier this time. And it goes back behind that spring, okay? Now, the front band does the same thing on its spring, and once it's back in place, that's it. It's back together. Real tough, right? So from here, we're going to put the cleaning rod back into the stock, and if you notice, there is a ridge right here cut in the bottom of the stock for this to slide right back into place, okay? And it kind of cranks in a little bit because there are some threads in there that this thing bites into so it won't fall out and get lost. Push it in, hold it in while you're turning it, and it'll bite in, okay? And when we go to put the bolt back in, once again, dirt simple, stick it back in the gun. That's it, okay? Now, this is another one of those guns that you can decock it. All right, and the way you do it, you're going to hold the trigger back and the bolt will just close, okay? Now, when you open this rifle, as you're opening it, watch, this cocking piece is going to come back while you're opening it, okay? Now, if you're not pulling the trigger and you close the bolt, okay, the bolt will go down, but the cocking piece stays back. And that way, when you pull the trigger, it allows it to go forward and tap the firing pin. Okay, so this is what's known as a cock on open action, all right? It's a good action. It works really, really well, okay? When you want to decock it, okay, simply pull the trigger, lower the bolt handle. Just that simple. And that is our M-1891 Mosin-Nagant rifle, or Russian 3-line rifle of M-1891. There she is. What a fine piece of work it is. It's a good shooting gun. Hey everybody, Bill 1911 here. Hey, I just wanted to give you a heads up on some of the things we're going to have coming up in the near future. We're going to do a video on the SKS rifle. That was a Russian gun, also used by the Chinese and a lot of other people back in the 50s. We're going to also, after that, we're going to do the AK-47. There's an AK-47 and a Mach 90. They're essentially the same gun. Mine is actually an AK-47. However, it has a semi-automatic trigger group in it. They took out the fully automatic, so it's not a machine gun. It does not have select fire. It is just semi-automatic. So it's an AK-47, but it's not an AK-47. It's kind of a cross between the Mach 90 and the AK-47. So we'll see you next time. I'm Bill 1911.